So at what age did you start to get into like YouTube creating content or seeing like some kind of future in covering hip hop?
So, like I said, we were all really fascinated with music and making it out, based on music. You know what I mean? So that's why when I was like 14, 15 years old, into that era, of listening to all like the D Block and the G Unit music, my friends and I, we were almost like we were starting to condition ourselves. I was looking at it like that because we would ride around all day, smoking weed all day, listening to the most classic hip hop. Like I felt like we were conditioning ourselves to being in the industry. It wasn't until I was 18 years old though, and I grabbed my own crib because I was like, I just got out of high school. I was like, I want to get my own crib, so I went and I rented this beach house, and then I started seeing what the internet was becoming with hip hop. And this had to be 2008, so I'm about 20 years old. So I was seeing what hip hop was becoming, studying all the hip hop websites, and I was like, this whole development of the way that people are putting information out, I can use this structure and actually use it to push out my content, and then more people will see it. And all of these websites really started taking to my content. I don't know what it was back in the day if they didn't have as many creators, because now you'll see all the new hip hop or all the existing hip hop websites, they have all their writers, they have different creators, they have podcast hosts. But I was going to all of the websites and basically letting them use my content, and they would give me their reach. Like all these dope ass websites. World Star actually put up my first interview. So I basically studied the game, man, from that point, knowing all the artists, knowing who I wanted to hear stories from more, and then actually seeing the people that were putting it out to the world.
And so I saw that you had one channel, Mikey T the movie star, right? And then you switched over to Report Card Radio. What made you do that switch?
Well, man, when I was running the Mikey T, the movie star channel, it was just crazy because, I was going out, I was filming DJ Khaled, I was filming Ace Hood, I was doing all the Rick Ross after parties, shit like that. I would literally be filming in the middle of the street in Miami, Florida, DJ Khaled getting out of his drop top with Ace Hood. And, they just had Woke Up in My New Bugatti playing, you know what I mean? All these different songs playing. And you know how YouTube will started to react to those songs being played on the channel in the later years. You know what I mean? YouTube just got so commercialized, like all the hip hop websites have become commercialized. So I was like, man, I need to step back. I need to have a fresh start. It's not about incorporating the artist music in what you do. They're selling that. You have to focus on yourself. You have to focus on the material that you're going to monetize on and the material that you're going to use to license in the future as well. So that's really why I stepped back and started a new channel. And now I see everybody is creating secondary channels for their clips. They're running the long interviews and then they have their clips channels. So that's something I may do in the near future as well. It's all about expanding on this YouTube shit.
Right, yeah, it's like it's never ending, man. Because yeah, I see like your format is mainly just like the live. You're not really like cutting it up, right? But you're saying that in the future you might do that because it does hurt your algorithm, right? When they like, when you're not like watching it the full way and everything.
Yeah, sometimes people will only watch 2 minutes of your interview. You know what I mean? Sometimes people they'll be like, sometimes you'll have 100,000 people see 5 minutes of your interview. They won't even know you have a whole nother 45 minutes of the interview. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy the way YouTube works. And another thing I'm going to be getting on is actually putting all of my full interviews on Spotify and kind of expanding in podcast format as well. I want to use like all my existing interviews. I must have like 30, 40, 50 interviews, just from 20 to an hour and 15 minutes to just put all up in, as my catalog.
Right, yeah, that's smart, man. So like you said, very early on, you were out here getting it, just like coming outside with your camera and really going to some pretty rough spots too. Were you like ever afraid of like getting touched?
Man, honestly, never really feared getting touched. I mean, there was a situation where I got pulled over by the police. That would be like my worst case scenario. you know what I mean, getting arrested, you know what I mean? I wasn't so much worried about what was going to happen to me out there, you know what I mean? I was 18 years old. I had already been through some of the worst things already, you know what I mean? So I wasn't really so much scared. Maybe I was a little naive back then going to all these places, you know what I mean? Like the Pork and Beans in Miami. Literally, I'm there filming with an artist and the feds rolled up, car doors open, guns drawn, you know what I'm saying? So maybe I was a little naive running out to Southside Jamaica, Queens, God Brewer and all that. But I was sitting on the stoop with Ron Browse, you know what I mean? Shit like that. You know, maybe I was a little naive, but I don't regret none of it. You know what I mean? I was out there to make the history. I was out there to help these guys tell their stories. You know what I mean? Because back then, like you were saying, we had to wait so long to get the information. It's almost we kind of felt like we didn't have enough of it. That's another reason I got into the game. So I wasn't going to let traveling 2.5 hours to go to Queens stop me. I was more so concerned about, like I said, getting arrested or my car getting towed, little issues like that that would fuck me up financially. You know what I mean? Having to pay for a lawyer, having to pay a $300 towing fee, that shit would piss me off, man. But I was more concerned. I was more concerned with going out there and making the history, man.
So how did you like come up with the plan of like, oh, I'm gonna go to Miami this weekend. I'm gonna do this. Like, how were you connecting with the artist? Was it through MySpace?
Well, the first ways that I actually started working out of New York, and then I got the opportunity to move to Miami, Hollywood, Florida, which is about 25 minutes from Miami. I got the opportunity to move out there in 2011. And it was really a no brainer because that's where all the talent was. You know what I mean? I was doing a lot between New York, New Jersey, and Philly at first, but getting my opportunity to go out to New York was, I mean, go out to Florida was a no brainer. Now, when I first started in New York, I it might have been off of MySpace where I got the first interview with Freaky Zeke. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, Freaky Zeke's the fourth member of Dipset and he's not really getting any credit for it. So I reached out. Yeah, he didn't really get the credit for being the fourth member. He was also the president.